Cruising is a figure standing in the shadows and a voice whispering in the dark.
Where are you? I'm waiting for you.
Cruising is looking dangerous and being in danger. Al Pacino is the New York cop who's cruising for a killer. Cruising, Certificate X. At the London Pavilion and Odeon's Kensington and Chelsea now.
Well, funny meeting you here.
I mean, it is my mom's house.
It's a good point. Good point. And somewhere in there, I could say a really tasteless joke, but that's just not what we do here. But it is your mom's house. It is a late Saturday night.
Our parents are really, at first their parents were like, "It's exciting. You're gonna come visit."
Yeah, you've been moved out of the house for 15 years, and we're gonna come visit. But then they didn't know we're just using.
They realized we're coming at like 9:00 at night, and then just going to the basement and watching movies. And
yeah. So you're not gonna drink with all your friends and cause a ruckus? No. Okay. You gonna hang out?
I'm not gonna stay for dinner or maybe breakfast.
Maybe breakfast.
Couple fruity pebbles. Bowl of fruity pebbles before we hit the road.
My parents are older now, so they go to bed around 9, 10, 11 o'clock. So, they're already in bed when we're over.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple times we have to cut it out of the cast. My dad's like, "When is this gonna stop?
Enough.
When is this gonna end?" A lot of times this happened to us in the old days. Blake and I would be making noise down there.
It's a very important part of the sleepover experience is waking your parents up by accident.
Yeah, and it's funny you think in retrospect because when we met in college, you'd come back. We'd watch movies in my room or we'd watch movies in their living room, and we'd never wake them up. But then out of college, when I kind of moved back in with them, they kind of gave me the basement, which was finished.
Yeah.
So I moved all my stuff down there and would kind of just sleep in my bedroom. And it's funny that thinking about that, we were in the basement level. They're 2 floors above us in the second floor, and we still woke them up.
Yeah.
We had a floor of buffering. And we weren't doing anything, we weren't like getting, I don't know. I guess we were getting wild, but it wasn't like we're like, screaming and playing dominoes.
The only thing I would imagine we were doing was laughing at shit.
Yeah, being too loud, laughing, doing impressions. We drank a little bit, but I don't think that really it wasn't like we were fighting. Getting the fight from each other at the coffee table.
Move the furniture out of the way.
Yeah, we're big WWE fans, and since we were in Connecticut and it's from Stamford, we were like, screw it.
No holds barred.
No Holds Barred.
That
good
would be
movie.
a good
That would be a
one.
good movie because especially since the Hulk is in the news at the time of this.
It would be timely.
Hey,
but we're not talking about that one.
No, not at all. No. But we digress. Welcome to Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. I'm Dion Baya, always joined by Jay Blake.
Happy to be here as always.
It is yet again another late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, depending on how you want to look at it, which way you roll. It's a half comfy, glass
empty, half full.
Whatever. What kind of guy you are, it's between you and your gods.
Which would be like the more optimistic, like the more positive way of looking at it? I guess Saturday night, right?
Yeah, I don't know because then.
Unless you loved Sundays. See, I always kind of hated Sundays.
Yeah, because it's always just like
I'll go to school
dreading
tomorrow.
the next day. Yeah. And it's weird.
School or work.
I've always looked at Sundays as being the last day of the week, but some people look at that as the first day of the week.
Well, on the calendar, it's the first day.
Yeah, as well as like a lot of people get paid. If you get paid, the work week starts on a Sunday, say.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could be a pessimist, and then you're up all night and you don't want Saturday night to leave, so you're like, I'm staying up as late as I can. And then when you go to sleep, that ends the Saturday night. Or you can be an optimist and be like, oh, the sun's coming up. It's this new day. It's technically Sunday, and I'm going to go to bed and sleep right through it.
I'm going to waste the entire day sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping in bed, dead to the world. So we've been doing some fun casts over the past couple months.
We've been trying.
We've been jumping all around the.
And this is July.
Yeah, and this is coinciding with a release. And
next week, if you're listening to this on the day we drop or whatever you say, the 31st, next week on the August 7th,
2015 is
yet another superhero reboot.
Yeah,
this time for the Fantastic Four.
So Blake had suggested, why don't we do a Fantastic Four movie? And I said, okay. I kind of
Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of liked the old ones with Jessica Alba, and who doesn't love Michael Chiklis? And you're like, no, let's go back.
Well, this is actually a movie that when we
Yes.
came up with the idea for the show.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say reference.
Well, we'll get to
yeah.
even further back. But this was like one of like when we were like shooting ideas around like what we could do if we did a podcast like this. This was one that was always
like
on the original list.
A pillar.
Like, oh, that would be really cool to do this movie.
Yeah.
We'll get to it someday.
And
that day is today,
yeah,
my friend.
You suggested it because as we did with the Flash show when the new Flash came out, we did the 1990 pilot for the Flash.
Yeah.
And when you suggested this movie, I said, okay, let's get in the car.
The Daredevil.
The Trial of the Incredible Hulk
show came out on Netflix.
So
we did Trial of Incredible Hulk,
which phenomenal.
Which features
the
Daredevil.
Daredevil's first live action appearance. So you suggested this movie we were going to do. I said, okay, let's pile into to my dad's minivan, his Plymouth Voyager, and we drove to the video store because we still know where one is. It's hidden away, but you have to know where it is. You have to know the right password, And we couldn't find this one on the shelves. And I said, Blake, why can't we find this on the shelves? And you said, because it was never released.
Funny enough, it was never released. You knew that.
I know. I was just playing the game. I was going through the. I was doing. It was the old charade.
Okay, I mean, for me, the first time I heard of this movie.
So, should we tell the movie we're doing?
I mean, if they've downloaded it or they're listening to it, they know we're talking about 1994's Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Also known as like Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Now, this movie was introduced to me, and I think likely you at the same time was at Midtown Comics.
That's where I said yes, no, because I thought you were going to reference. Yeah, you and I. Well, as soon as we started going to college in New York, we realized that Midtown Comics was in New York, so we started trekking to Midtown. And this is back when, which I don't think they do anymore.
This is back when there was only one Midtown Comics.
Oh, there wasn't a Lexington Avenue one?
I don't think there was a Lexington, and there's one on Fulton Street way downtown, too.
I don't know that one.
Know how it could be called Midtown Comics.
It's like there's a Forbidden Planet down there, which is another comic book.
Well,
store. By Union Square, maybe?
That's by Union Square. And they moved. I don't know where their new location is. I haven't been there since the
reboot. When we would go into the original Midtown Comics over in the Garment District,
like
39th maybe,
Times Square-ish.
39th and maybe what is
39th or 40th and like 7th.
Yeah, it's right near the Garment District. We would go in, and this is back when they used to sell bootlegs of movies, and this is where I first saw. There was a show Magician,
with which we talked about when we talked about
what's his face,
the Bix
on the Trial of the Hulk cast. And there was a lot of other things that you saw, like I remember that, like stuff that wasn't available, like Jason the Real Warriors, like stuff, or the Real Ghostbusters, stuff that hadn't been on DVD yet.
Old TV shows, and then they would have like that. I guess it was like the birth of like. Probably not the birth, but it was like fan movies. There was like that
Superman,
that amazing Spider-Man one.
With like an NYU student.
Yeah, some guy made like
80s.
a feature length.
Which I guess was notorious as well for them to have it. But this was at the time as well, is that since these things were a commodity and, there was no internet really to look for this stuff, DVD was relatively new, if not coming out.
I mean, originally it was probably
all VHS.
Yeah.
So when we would go, it would kind of deter us because, like, say a copy of this movie would probably be like $50. You know what I mean? They would really get. This is like going to like you and I collecting bootlegs. Yeah. How much money have you spent on like getting bootlegs, which now you can just find anywhere?
You're referring to bootleg, like concerts and music. CDs and whatnot.
You and I have spent a lot of money on like a cassette tape bootleg.
It sounded like garbage. It's on like a Maxell, blank
5th generation. You're like, this sounds great. Don't worry, man. I'm used to a little poor quality. So they would have them there, and I remember they always have this playing in the background behind the register. They'd have this weird movie, and it seemed to be always the end of the movie when they looked like they were like underground.
Yeah.
So it was very weird lighting and stuff, and I was like, wow. And you of course see the thing, you see their outfits, the Fantastic Four uniforms, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we had some dude who.
I mean, realistically, this movie was
Oh, that's true. It's relatively
slated to be 94.
And this is
We're
97.
talking about like 97, 98.
Yeah.
So we're really only like 34 years away.
It's relatively new. So it's like talking about a movie now that came out like 2010 or 11. That's kind of crazy to think that. But to us, it was like the 80s.
Yeah, well, even when you look at it now, I mean, we'll talk about it stylistically. It
Yeah.
definitely feels more,
Like an older.
to me, like it's older than 94.
So that's when how we first discovered it. And then I never really got around to getting it.
Yeah,
You
never
know.
bought it. You never
We went to conventions, and I'm sure it was there, but we found other things that would pique our interest.
Now
in
there was
conventions.
always this like this urban legend around this movie.
Yeah.
Which is the subject of a documentary that just got a distribution deal called Doomed, the untold story of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, directed by a guy named Marty Langford. He
did the doc.
He did the documentary. Because this was something that he was completely obsessed with. Like this notion of there's this movie that never got this like superhero movie that never got released. I mean, we're not talking about like, you know, like a pilot to a potential superhero show that never aired because the show never went or anything like that. We're talking about a feature-length film.
Do you think this is in the lexicon now, or the psyche for people to really like? Do people know this? I'm sure people who are into comic books, into Marvel superheroes.
I'm sure by now there's got to be
we're preaching
people
to the
that are
choir
more
here.
into comic books than you are. I mean, we know it, so I mean, there are we're comic book fans, but
we're not diehard.
But there are people that are like really into comic books and stuff. But so the rumor was always that the producer owned the rights to do the movie, the trademark or whatever. He had the rights to do the movie, and they were gonna lapse. He was gonna lose.
Yeah, he purchased the back in the old days when you could do this. He purchased the film rights in 1986 for like something ridiculous. He purchased like them for like say $250,000, and he had them for how many years? And
come like 92, they were going to expire or something.
Yeah, he was going to lose the rights unless it was a stipulation, because I think at the time Marvel was trying to get his stuff back.
Yeah.
So if he didn't have the thing,
it's one of the reasons why this stuff gets rebooted so quickly now. Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Why they go the Sam Raimi right to the next one? Because the way it works is if you're not doing anything with the property after a certain point, then you lose. Like the rights to it like revert back to the original person or whatever. So that's why like as soon as Sam Raimi's like Spider-Man 3 is done, they're like, we got to do another Spider-Man movie, or Sony's going to lose the rights to do Spider-Man.
Which is so
they
weird.
just keep churning up. So it's like they're not doing them for any kind of like artistic reason. They're doing it just so they don't lose the rights. And so it was always rumored that this movie was made so that the guy like Bernd Eichinger.
yeah, from
He's a German producer. Who
Constantine Pictures,
he did like he produced Never-Ending Story and some of the Resident Evil movies.
and he did the Hitler movie Downfall, which I completely love, which is now always parodied on the internet. They put, subtitles over it. But it's a German guy. It's a low budget company, but he's doing movies that we've heard of.
Yeah.
And he purchased it for, like we said, $250,000 in 1986, and the rights are about to lapse on the 31st of December, like 1993.
So he says
92. I'm sorry, 92.
There's nothing in the contract of how big the budget has to be for me to do the movie.
As long as it's in production.
So he goes to Roger Corman. He's like, I need to do this movie. Like, I need to get this movie rolling.
And Roger Corman's like, what kind of budget do you want? He's like, $20 million. He's like, scale it down a bit. 15. Scale it down a bit.
I'm thinking more like
5. Scale it down a bit.
I'm Roger Corman.
Yeah, this is Roger fucking Corman you're talking to.
So they come up with a budget that's,
1.4 million.
like around $1 million to make this movie. Now, here's where like the story gets dicey, because Stan Lee says in an interview at some point that he feels really bad because
As he should, I think, but
that the intention was to make the movie, and there was never the intent to release it. Like, from the beginning, it was like, we're going to do this fake movie. We're going to do this movie.
unbeknownst, though, to
the crew,
the director,
cast.
everybody involved except the suits. Those guys, again, we reference in the dark rooms, the boardrooms, chain-smoking cigars. you know, or
So
just making deals.
There was always, this is where this urban legends, this rumor starts, that circulates, that they made a movie without ever having the intention of releasing it behind everybody's back.
Which is weird because when you go on and they're slated, they even had a release date. They wanted to release it like in maybe in late '94, but they were going to release it in on Labor Day, and they were going to release it at the Mall of Americas.
Yeah.
They had a big campaign. These guys are going on press junkets, going to conventions. They had the trailer in front of Roger Corman's Carnosaur, which was in the theaters. So it's like they were doing press for it.
So that's where this rumor starts, and it was like this story like captures the imagination of like they would really go to the expense and the trouble of like hoodwinking everybody just so that they wouldn't lose the rights to Fantastic Four. Now, with the advent of this documentary, and which I haven't seen the documentary. Apparently, it had a great screening at the recent San Diego Comic-Con, and it's finally got distribution. We were actually going to interview, Marty was going to call in for this cast, and we were going to interview him right here, but because of
our phone lines are down,
some of the business stuff going around, unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But
maybe we'll get to him in the future. We'll come back to him.
But
be like, update. It's like the Unsolved Mysteries, update.
But apparently, Corman, Eichinger, they claim that was never the case.
Yeah, it was only Stan Lee, and then at the time the guy.
They never had the intention of not releasing it when they made it. It was the intent. They admit that they made the movie on the cheap so that they didn't lose the rights.
Yeah.
But it was never their intent to not do anything with it.
It's interesting as a footnote that later on, this producer, what's his face, Eichinger?
Eichinger, yeah.
Yeah, he ended up going on and he kept the rights, and he did the Fantastic Four movies in 2005 and the sequel.
Now, the plot thickens, and this is, I have
But before we go any further, this isn't unheard of in Hollywood, because it's weird. In the mid-'50s, we had Burt Lancaster, one of the runners breaking away from the studio system, made his own company with a couple of their stars. And they were going to do Marty, which was Ernest Borgnine's Marty. It was a TV movie they did with Rod Steiger was in it, and they wanted to bring it to the big screen, and they wanted to recast Rod Steiger, and they're like, no one would want to go pay to see it if they just saw him in it on the TV. So they got Ernie, but the intention was never to release that. They were going to just do it as a write-off, for a tax write-off. Huh. So they never really, they only got an hour and a half out of it. They filmed really quickly, and then when before shelving it, they went to look at the dailies and they're like, this is brilliant. We have to release it. And then they ended up releasing it, and then it ended up winning an Academy Award, and it got Ernie his Academy Award. So this isn't unheard of that this happens.
I mean, Hollywood, the film business it can be a little dicey in that way. Like, things get made for tax write-offs, for weird purposes, without the intention. But where the plot thickens on our story is allegedly, Avi Arad, who is the guy who's behind all these Marvel movies. He was at that time an executive for Marvel, and then when Marvel went bankrupt a little bit later in the later 90s, he kind of stepped forward and became like a really big presence. He apparently contacted Eichinger, allegedly, and had a conversation where he's like, we love that you did the movie. We love that you're excited about the property. We don't want to take the property away from you, but we don't think it's the best thing for Marvel and the Fantastic Four to release a low-budget version of this.
So he offered money, supposedly. He bought it from them.
So he's like, basically, let me reimburse you for the money spent.
Yeah.
And Corman had in his contract, there was always in the Corman contract that at any point they could pay back Corman
and be bought out,
and he would be bought out. So Avi Arad apparently then buys the movie and then has all the copies of the movie destroyed.
Yeah, he has a burning party. He actually supposedly burns. But he burns every copy, so it'll never see the light of day. How this got out, I don't know. And I think for years there was only like a 4:3 full frame available.
Yeah.
But the one we watched was 1:8.5.
Yeah.
So they shot it wide. Beautiful widescreen, and now you can find it on YouTube anywhere. Maybe we'll even put a link into the cast. So you can watch
Marty Langford, like I said, he was kind of obsessed with this movie, and he's like the kind of guy.
The documentarian.
The guy who made the documentary Doomed. He would go to like like conventions and like try to find like the best quality copy of this movie. Like he loved this movie, so this documentary was like out of, like all
Like a
great
long,
documentaries.
yeah.
Like, I need to find out what happened. I need to tell this story. Now it's interesting because this is coming off on the heels of like there's this huge resurgence of documentaries right now going of like movies that could have been.
Yeah.
You got Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah.
Was the big one, and then there was just one that came out with Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau called the Island of Lost Children or something like that. And that's a fascinating documentary right now on that's just got put on Blu-ray, where that talks about the struggle of this guy, this independent like boy genius filmmaker from England, trying to make like his dream project and having it ripped away from him and given to John Frankenheimer.
Oh, and it turned out to be the Marlon Brando,
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit movie.
Yeah,
Val
and all the
Kilmer.
turmoil of behind the scenes.
That's a whole different story of all the shit that went on.
And so
in
we have
movie.
that, and now we have just a kind of a limited release. Just came out was The Death of Superman Lives, about Tim Burton's.
Did that actually get made and come out?
Yeah, I believe
Okay,
it.
because I've only seen the crowd. I've only seen the go. What do you call that?
I believe it's playing here in the city in a couple.
Yeah, another documentarian was so fascinated by the in the late '90s they were going to reboot the franchise and have Tim Burton come back. And was it prior to Schumacher or was it after Schumacher?
It was after Schumacher
Doing Batman's.
Batman Forever. It was before Batman and Robin, because basically it was Batman and Robin that made it go down the tubes.
So Burton was going to direct a Superman movie, and he actually got paid. I heard a lot of these people. It's another interesting thing in Hollywood where I think it's Kevin Smith did like a script for a Spider-Man movie or maybe Daredevil.
He did the Superman movie.
Oh, and he got paid for that.
Yeah.
And there's another notorious story where you take Brian De Palma's Untouchables in 1987. They wanted Robert De Niro to play Al Capone. He wasn't available, so they hired Bob Hoskins, and he was ready to go. And then suddenly De Niro became available, so they gave it to De Niro, but they still had to pay Bob Hoskins. So it's you think about the money they waste in Hollywood, where there's people who are just on it, or you retain the rights, or they got to pay somebody off, and it's like all this money. So Burton and Smith collected paychecks for this movie that never went past, I think, pre production.
Well, that's what happens with think of all the movies where a script gets bought from a writer, and then it just never gets made. There are screenwriters that
live on that,
make a really great living, and are very successsual screenwriters, and have never had one of their movies produced.
It's only been
a
optioned.
movie.
Yeah, it's weird. And it also too, taking a movie like Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. That was put on his desk in like the early 80s. He bought it and it sat in a drawer for over 10 or 15 years because he wanted to age into the role. So that must be another heartbreaking. If that's your baby, you've worked on a script for how many years, you give it to somebody, and you got to wait like 20 years for the thing to get made, and you're like, fuck, I forgot about that. But I'm glad that guy, the documentarian that you just mentioned, who did the Superman movie, that's out, because was really something, another interesting thing to see.
It's pretty interesting. I watched it, and it's...
It's a good, it's like Room 237, like that.
It's not like the greatest documentary ever, but it's certainly a fascinating story.
Yeah.
And they interview everybody.
And they agree to do it. That's great.
And, the only person that they didn't interview was Nicolas Cage,
who was supposed to be Superman.
Who was cast as Superman.
That'd have been weird.
They even Burton did an interview for it.
Because that's like Con Air era Nicolas Cage. So with the long hair.
Speaking of eras, so 1994. So they start making this movie in 1992, and they make it through 93. It's supposed to come out in 94. Now this is... We've discussed with The Punisher, and when we did the Flash pilot TV show.
And Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. And to also put this in perspective, we did our first Saturday Night Movie Sleepover cast on Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher, which and that never got a theatrical release. It went straight to video. It was released overseas, but never in America. That movie's budget was $11 million.
Yeah.
And this movie, Fantastic Four, which has a lot more special effects, is only $1.4 million. So you could see the disparaging, between the two. And you're right. This is coming off of, I think Tim Burton's Batman '89 put everything in the high gear. You had Ninja Turtles. You had the Flash TV show that we did. You had, of course, another one or two installments of the Incredible Hulk, the Bix TV movies.
This is when we would talk. This is around the time of Trial for the Incredible Hulk.
Dick Tracy comes out. Rocketeer comes out. So you're still, but then it's starting to peter out after Batman Returns. And I mean, Batman Forever was still huge when Joel Schumacher got it, and everyone was like, "This is going to be a great movie."
Here's the thing, and
That's getting into like 95, right? 96.
I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more at some other point, but this is like the anniversary of Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Which I guess is like 20-year anniversary of Batman Forever or whatever. And like that was the movie that like saved Batman because actually Batman Returns didn't do like it did well, but it didn't meet expectation because it's weird.
Yeah.
So there was this big push to like bring it back to like a lighter, more comic booky thing because after Burton's Batman '89 is kind of dark and serious. Less so when you watch it in retrospect, but at the time, it was. But Batman Returns is the Penguin is it's a very odd.
Yeah,
and it's really kind of weird. And
technically, Batman's killing people at the end of the first movie, but he's killing people too, and it's just like, it's weird, So I guess it kind of was like a cold reception. And people are like, well, okay.
Yeah, but then you had the Batman the Animated Series comes out around that time, and but so superheroes. So the point is, like superheroes were big again.
Yeah,
and
this guy had been sitting on the rights for Fantastic Four for almost 10 years, since '86. So the first Never Ending Story that was very good. And so he doesn't want the rights to revert back to Marvel. So he says, okay, screw it, we're going to put it into production. And who's the first person you think of do something low budget? Roger Corman.
Yeah.
But see, before we get into Roger Corman, I guess, do you agree with my idea where like you can't slag off Roger Corman for being a low budget director, as opposed to you take like a Lloyd Kaufman from Troma.
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger, Troma, Romeo and Juliet. Those are low budget productions.
Yeah.
But Corman,
and I've heard like this movie
was
like production value being compared to like Toxic Avenger's production value.
But Corman has put out good material. I mean, he's a stickler. He keeps everything low budget, but it's not necessarily like I think a deal breaker, or it's not really hindering the movie. I think he puts out great product as he did.
Oh, I think he's a pioneer for independent film.
Yeah,
I mean, I think. Yeah, okay, some of this stuff's very schlocky, and there's, stories of him, picking movies to do based on, like, the title, or somebody drawing up a poster and be like, yeah, like, I could sell that movie. Like, there is, like...
Well, he'd almost do it on bets, too. He did the original Little Shop of Horrors, and he shot it, like, in 3 days on a bet that he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Corman was a guy who, like, didn't want to be in the film business. I got out of college, started working, I think, for, like, 20th Century Fox. And he helped do a movie called The Gunfighter, which I think it was Lancaster. I'll have to get somebody on it to see. And he had a lot of input in the movie, but his name wasn't on it. And he got so pissed, he said, okay, from now on, I'm going to do my own stuff. So he kind of broke away. And in the late 50s, he started doing with, what is it, AFI? No, what's the American Independent Pictures?
Yeah, I forget what his company is.
But they started doing... Edgar Allan Poe movies of Vincent Price, and the first one, House of Usher, isn't a parody at all. It's great. They did a couple parodies like The Raven or The Pit and the Pendulum, but then he kind of gets back and they do straight. I mean, sometimes it's how do you get an hour and a half movie out of like a novella, or a short story? So some of it you're taking liberties, but the majority of those AIP movies are very good with Vincent Price.
Yeah,
and coming into the late 60s or the mid 60s, he then also breaks away and starts doing these counterculture biker films, which predate Easy Rider, and those are huge hits where it's like these Wild Angels or these biker movies, So he was, and then into the 70s he was doing like Death Race 2000 and those genre pictures. So he was a very ahead of the time, and a lot of people in the industry call him like it's like the Roger Corman film school, because think of how many people have come out of the Roger Corman.
I mean, that's
tutelage.
the other thing is you have to give him credit for one, yes, but he also he made serious movies. He made forget what it's called. It's called something like The Intruder.
Oh yeah, with William Shatner.
William Shatner as like a bigot. I mean, it's like he's
Yeah.
Yes, he's doing movies on a low budget. Some of them are schlocky and catering to a genre, but he's also at the same time making some pretty serious movies. And like I said, he's a pioneer for independent film. I mean, we take that for granted now. And most independent films today aren't really independent films, even though they're considered that. I mean, this was a guy that decided he was going to do it on his own terms, with as a businessman, as an artist, and then as a producer. Like you said, he became, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola,
Brian De Palma.
We just talked about James Cameron before, other cast.
Jack Nicholson as an actor, Bruce Dern, tons of
Joe
people.
Dante.
Did you say Martin Scorsese? Joe Dante, Peter Bogdanovich. I mean, the list goes on and on of either actors who got their start.
Spielberg, I think, maybe his first movie.
Either actors get their start like doing stuff like Nicholson in The Terror or Bruce Dern in one of the biker movies, versus the directors who were start as maybe PAs or doing some sort of production design or something like that, and then they learn the craft there, or they hone their craft in the industry. So he's really put out he has his graduation rate of
by the 90s and by the 80s and the 90s, he's primarily kind of known for like these mockbusters. Things that are not necessarily parodies, but maybe could be that Carnosaur coming out, in conjunction with Jurassic Park.
It's kind of like what Asylum
Munchies coming out because of Gremlins.
It's kind of like what Asylum Pictures does now, that they do all these movies that end up airing on Sci-Fi Channel or Sci-Fi, whatever the hell they call it now.
But I think Corman he's an extremely important part of American filmmaking history.
Yeah, and also as well, I think he played a good part in the horror genre in the late 50s was kind of on decline. Hammer came in and got a big chunk, but these movies he was doing was really the only American input that we were giving back to the Hammer, for the horror industry, because the big Universal and all them, they kind of winded down in the late 50s with their monster stuff. So AIP was the only thing that was really cranking out good horror, as opposed to independent guys like Carnival of Souls or whatever the hell, like
but
that.
like big, like gothic horror.
And that's another thing. It's like it's not only that, he's using people who fixtures in the industry, Vincent Price and a shitload of the movies, but also in The Raven and to Pit and the Pendulum, you have Boris Karloff, you have Peter Lorre, I think you have Basil Rathbone. So you have he's getting known people in, as well as he's bringing in new people like a Jack Nicholson or a Bruce Dern to do stuff, Nancy Sinatra. So and that's why I say it's kind of unfair when if someone were to categorize him as low budget, then to compare him to Lloyd Kaufman, who's just completely doing it like guerrilla filmmaking, where he won't even pay people. You worked there for a week, and
I did. I worked for Troma for a week,
and you left. You're like, I can't do this, because they're like, we're not going to exactly pay you.
I would have, believed me, I would have loved to have stayed at Troma. The problem is I literally could not live off the wage they were, and I talked them up.
That's hilarious.
And I got them when we had the negotiation of how they were like, a week goes by, because they want to get like a week of like really cheap labor, but they want to make sure that they get the right person. So you work for like half price for like a week, as like a trial thing to see if you want to do it, to see if they want you. And then when that week's up, you have a meeting with like Lloyd, and I forget his partner's name. And it's like, okay, well, they liked me, so they were like, all right, here's what we can pay you if you want to stay. And
$5.45 an hour.
And I got them to raise that, and then it was still.
Didn't they want to pay you with merchandise laying around?
No, I mean that's basically. I got a small wage for the week I worked there, and then I walked out with a bunch of DVDs.
Yeah,
not illegally; they were given to me.
A parting gift, consolation prize.
Yeah, it was like, but yeah, believe me, I would have loved to work there. But they were looking for 50 to 60 hour weeks for like nothing. And I think, it's just New York City. Like, I don't know how. Now, fortunately, they're not in Midtown anymore. They're like in Queens now.
That's where they used to be on like 8th or 9th Avenue over there?
9th Avenue between 49th and 50th.
And that was where they were for years.
Right next to the McDonald's, right there.
That's funny.
They were there for decades.
And it's funny, too, because if you know the city, a lot of those 80s, 90s movies like Romeo and Juliet were just shot over on the west side there. You can tell, like, on the side streets by, like, the bus depots or, like, the carriage houses.
And I don't want to disparage what they do. I mean, I think
they have a completely...
It's a very different thing than what Roger Corman does, but not any less, I think, important to, like, independent filmmaking.
No. It's just that they have a system that works for them good, and they have a thing they go about and getting stuff done.
It is... I mean, it would appear to be a lot less about quality. But... nonetheless, the fact that they were able to do it, and he's a real go-getter. I mean, I got nothing disparaging
Lloyd.
to say.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, more power to him that he was able to accomplish all that stuff. But so
now that we've set
Corman,
the scene,
yeah, we've set the table now. So God bless what's his face, the producer, Eichlinger. Eichlinger goes to Corman. Okay.
Ike Inger. No L.
Inger. Okay. He goes to Corman and he's like, look, I'm looking. You're notorious at getting stuff done. Low budget. Can you help me out?
Yeah.
And they end up they do it and they do 25 days. They shoot this bad boy, and that's a real haul to be able to do this kind of thing. And you know what? Okay, we watched the movie. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought it was pretty good.
I like it.
I
watched this for the first time about a year ago, maybe.
Oh wow, okay,
maybe a little more. I watched it, and I told you, I was like, you know what, it's good. It's not so bad. And then so we decided to watch it now.
It's actually, from what I've heard from fans, say it's quite faithful than even the reboots that were just done that he did in 2005 and whatever 6 or 7 the remake was or the sequel was.
Well, I mean, I think the thing to think about is, Fantastic Four was a comic book that started in the 60s with Marvel Comics.
Yeah, Stanley and Jack Kirby.
So, the 60s, okay, despite like the turmoil of like, the Vietnam War and,
later on
and
in the
things
end.
going on and this threat of like, the Cold War, despite like everything else that's going on in the world, it's a pretty innocent time.
Yeah.
This is when you have, it's like the Monkees and Partridge Family are on TV.
A lot of escapism.
But it's like, it's very just innocent. I mean, there is like an innocence about those early comics. I mean, because it's like the time. I mean, there's like Leave It to Beaver, kind of.
Well, I always feel like a decade always bleeds over into the next. And if you look at the 50s, the Eisenhower 50s, and how like perfect, model America it was. You get into the 60s, and maybe you could say with the Kennedy assassination, but that decade bleeds over into the 60s. So you have like the what do you call that? The marketers here in New York City. You have that era of Men, AMC's show.
Oh, like the Mad Men.
Yeah, you have like Mad Men. You have that kind of world, or you have like the romantic comedies, or you have, like you say, the escapism of like I Dream of Jeannie, Lucille Ball, Bewitched. Those are all on all these quirky, freaking Hogan's Heroes. Let's make a joke about concentration camps in front of the show, and the guy's like, "Go, it's greenlit." So you have these shows. Like you said, the Monkees, where it's just like, there's
like this
innocent
cleanness about it. And of course, look, Marvel went on, X-Men it was the statement on like, racism and equality, blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of what a lot of people liked about Fantastic Four was that like it was a super team like the X-Men, but without like all this social, political, commentary weighing it down in the 70s and 80s. So it was like, as a comic book itself, it was thought of as being more like escapism. And I think what really stands out about this movie, especially in the first half to me, is that there is like this innocence to it.
Yeah.
This idealized like escapism, like innocence, squeaky clean, they with the relationship with the kids, and they live with
the foster.
There's just like, great to there's just like this beautiful innocence to it that I think is more reminiscent to like the classic days of like Fantastic Four and comic books.
It's almost like it's paying homage to it.
Yeah. I think like it captures that feeling of more of the time that the comic book was originally set in as it started than it does, obviously in the 90s, where Batman, we just talked about, is taking it to like a darker
Burton's
place. This is kind of going the other way and making like a much more innocent, squeaky clean version of a comic book.
Well, they say that because of they knew that they were going to be working with a shoestring budget, if you can even call it that. Yeah. So they tried to emphasize it more on the character development, which they argue wasn't there so much like in the Batman or in the Superman. But I think it worked here. You know, that you really get into the characters here. I mean, the actors are really good that you got in here. I mean, you have Joseph Culp, who plays Victor Von Doom, who is Robert Culp's son. You know, when we Robert Culp from I Spy, Columbo, a bunch of stuff. He's great. Joseph Culp as Doom.
He brings it.
You know, you have Mr. Reed Richards is Alex Hyde White, whose father was Colonel Pinkerton in My Fair Lady. You know, and he went on to do. He's in Pretty Woman, and also he plays young Henry in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But his scenes got cut out. So hopefully, maybe one day, or maybe there's deleted scenes on an Indiana Jones box set. You know, so you have him. You have Ray Underwood, who is
Jay.
I'm sorry, I said Ray. Jay Underwood, who is the person we were trying to think of a couple casts ago with the Disney cast as the guy with Alan Thicke. You know, he was the did the robot.
He was doing the robot.
He played Alan
hell of a
Thicke's
dancer.
He played
the robot.
He played Alan Thicke's son in a trilogy of movies, Not Quite Human. Chip Carlson, and he's also in Uncle Buck and a movie near and dear to your heart, A Boy Who Could Fly.
Yeah, he's a familiar face for people I think of our generation. He was on a lot of stuff in the 80s.
You have Michael Bailey Smith playing Ben Grimm,
who I can't remember what installment. Maybe you'll remember. There's a Nightmare on Elm Street where there's like a Super Freddy.
5.
Totally jacked.
5.
He plays the Super Freddy in that one.
Yeah. I guess that's how he got into acting, because he went along to an audition with his friend, and the casting director looked at him because he was 6'4", he's a bodybuilder, and he said, "You got to try out for Freddy Krueger." And he did a very evil, maniacal laugh, and they hired him on the spot, and that's how he got into the film industry. So you have him. You have also Rebecca Staub. Staub, she's in it, and
very familiar face, I think, for people of our generation. Like, she's in one of my favorite episodes of The Wonder Years. I mean, she was in a lot of stuff, like in the 80s and 90s. I mean, she still works.
We have as well Kate Green, who plays the blind girl, Alicia Masters. She went on to do stuff in Buffy. She played Harmony on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for all those Joss Whedon fans out there. And also Carl Cafalo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he played he was almost like the David Prowse. Yeah. He played the Thing.
He was a stunt man that was the guy in the Thing costume.
Yeah. And last but not least, a great cameo at the beginning by George Gaines, who was a member of Punky Brewster.
Punky Brewster. He's in Tootsie, which is one of my favorite
And he's
movies.
in the Police Academy movies. Yeah. You know, so you have him at the beginning.
That was a great impression, by the way.
Punky! That's my one-hit Punky Brewster impression. So you have a good cast, and you know what? They're all really good, and you know what? It is low budget, but you know what? I don't think it hindered it. They actually based this off of the Fantastic Four issue 1, the origin story, and the Fantastic Four annual 2, and they even used the subplot of
which is like Doom's.
Yeah, Doom's origin story,
yeah.
And they actually used a subplot of what's her face, the girl Alicia Masters.
Yeah.
That was actually a subplot in one of the issues to have issue number 8 in 1962 to have that love interest between her and the Thing. Yeah. And so they're actually going back and using source material, which I think is great.
I think they're making an attempt to be faithful, which is totally commendable.
And
more faithful than Burton was. You know.
Yeah, he was bringing it back to the roots of like Bob Kane's dark, evil kind of a guy.
Yeah, but even maybe that was the original intention. But whenever you see a Bob Kane, maybe past that original. Like
the original, Detective Comics. But you're saying once you get into the Batman and Robin era of Bob Kane,
like Bob Kane's like always like this big crazy smile.
Yeah, it turns into almost the more of the Adam West into the 50s. Because I wonder if it's just because of the commission with what's his face? I forget the guy's name. Well, Wortham maybe the psychiatrist who disbarred EC Comics. You had to. Where else do you go with Detective Batman to keep him alive?
Also, as we're talking about, it's also a reflection of the time period. I mean, we're talking Batman comes out like during the Depression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Batman,
people were
Superman,
looking. They were all looking for superheroes to idolize.
They're coming out like during the fucking Great Depression.
Yeah.
So by the time the 50s roll around, Now we're on like the baby boom.
Yeah, we fought off the Nazis. So what else can they do?
Suburbia.
I kept thinking about when watching this movie, and I don't know if that means it's because they kind of look the same to me, but it kind of really had like a feel of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990.
It does have that feel.
The look, the set design. This does look like it was a lower budget, and also like the animatronics of the costumery.
Yeah. Well, there was definitely when I watched it, the first time like a year ago or two, or whenever that was. That was one of my things that I told you. It was like, it was, even though I had never seen it before, there was like I felt this great deal of nostalgia while I was watching it, because it does have like this feel of that's so like late 80s, early 90s. Like to me, it feels more like a late 80s in terms of like just feel and like production values. But I guess they started making it like in 92, so. Definitely, I totally agree with you. It has a feel that is so of that time period.
Yeah.
That like that's like instantly what I fucking grabbed onto as a viewer. It was like totally taking me, even though I didn't see it when I was like 14 or whatever, 12.
It brought you right back to
it transported me into the Wayback Machine and like took me to childhood. I was like, I totally felt like
you had like a little stiffy. You're like,
I would have loved this movie when I was little.
And see, that's the thing. I was thinking about it. If you put on your analytical hat and you try to think about like going back in the Wayback Machine and thinking about you at that age, I think this I would have. I don't think the lack of budget would have meant anything to me.
Well, here's the yeah.
I think it would have been. I think if you played it, okay, adults, I think would have probably maybe let it go a little more back then as opposed to today. But I think they would have been a little more forgiving back in the day when it came out. But I think kids would have ate it up.
Yeah.
I
mean, I've never seen it. I've never seen that like 90 Captain America movie.
Well, that was the next thing I didn't.
And that is a movie that I'm sure we'll get to
on this.
Likely when the next Captain America movie comes out.
Which is that was a direct-to-video that came out around The Punisher too, which is a direct-to-video.
What little I've seen of it, and I remember seeing it on TV and seeing parts of it, but I've never watched the entire thing. I can't imagine that from my recollection. Like it doesn't seem like it's any much bigger in terms of scope and like production values than this movie seems.
And it's at the time Marvel was really, really staggering, and DC was really hitting the high notes, which I guess you could say is completely reversed now. But you had Superman, Batman, and so Marvel. The only thing that Marvel really had going that was a moneymaker was Conan the Barbarian. They had the rights to. They tried with the Punisher, that didn't work. They tried with Captain America, that didn't work. But at least they released those two. This movie, you would think that they would try to do something with, as opposed to just, hey, release it onto TV, make it a TV movie. Why not try to make it as a pilot for a television show back then? You had The Flash. They could have easily tried to put this into production. And this might actually have been a little more well-suited to a TV world, because it tends to be a little hokier back then. It's not as dark as it is today with these new shows like Gotham or The Flash.
That's a totally good point. They totally could have done something with it. I think the other thing to keep into perspective is when you think about like the cast, the crew, and especially like the cast of this movie. You put like so much work. This is, the director put so much work and time into this. And, okay, like, you could argue, like, okay, the cast got paid for the work they did, so it's not that big of a deal. But you take a look, like, the director, for instance, he came out of music videos, Oli Sassoon. I think he had done a feature, but he came out of that time of, like, when David Fincher came out. And, like you were making this transition as from music video directors into regular directors. And this movie comes out and it doesn't get distributed. And when this movie doesn't come out, it's not like he can put it on his reel to get another job. You know what I mean? Like there are like ramifications to a movie not coming out that like I think the typical person wouldn't think of. Like he just spent so much time. He made a superhero movie, and now he can't show it to anybody. He can't use it to get another job. These actors don't get the residuals that they would get if this movie had an afterlife.
And there's probably even a stink on it as well. If people know in the industry what happened.
They can't put it on their acting rails. They can't, there's like, this is like, you make, especially early in your career, as you're trying to make it big, every project is so important because it's supposed to be the thing that moves on to the next project.
Yeah.
And with a franchise, like a potential franchise of like a comic book movie, you have like think of, like you said, all the like the opportunities that got lost of like a potential sequel, maybe a cartoon show they could have voiced, or it could have become a television show.
Yeah.
Like everything that, like, anything that seemed promising about this just got like ripped out from everybody.
And especially since they I wouldn't say they were lied to, but they were told this was going to get. They were even doing. They had a release date. We're going to release it.
They did
at the
press
Mall of
for
the
it.
Americas. It's going to be a huge thing. The trailer was out in Carnosaur, so it was really like the night before. They're ready to go. They're getting their tuxes pressed in their coattails, and they're like, "No, it's not happening." It's like the mob. They kill somebody. They tell you afterward he's dead. There's nothing you could do about it. I guess to recap it quickly, it's just basically the origin story of the Fantastic Four. Yeah. Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom were friends in college. They're both really smart. They're really close. This anomaly is flying by our planet called the Colossus, which is, I guess, some sort of maybe like a Halley's Comet kind of a thing, or something that has some sort of power.
Yeah, some kind of astrological anomaly.
That's
very exciting.
That's going to have like gamma rays or some sort of rays, that Stanley has made up. And Victor and Reed try to make this kind of machine to harness that, and what is it the thing where they have? No, that's later on. It backfires. Victor is horribly scarred, and we think get killed by the accident. And then 10 years later, we have Reed's graduated college. He's got his two friends from the boarding house.
He's already working at the Baxter building. It's all souped up.
Yeah, everything's going well. They're going to go up in a space shuttle to, I guess, maybe check out some more gamma rays. They have this big crystal that's going to help them. It's going to help kind of like dampen so they don't get exposed to the rays. That is stolen by a guy called the Jeweler, who is...
That's the only part of the movie that I was not crazy
Yeah, and it's weird. He's kind of like a mole man. I don't know why they just didn't keep the mole man from the original Fantastic Four, but he's the Jeweler. He's not... They made him up for the movie. He steals this big diamond, replaces it with a fake. They don't know. They go up into space with the fake. The fake doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and they're all exposed to whatever radiation that they're exposed to, the gamma rays. They come back down, and then, as you know, you have Reed Richards is now like Plastic Man. Little Storm Girl, she's able to turn into invisible, and you have the other Storm, Johnny. He's able to flame on, turn into a flame, and then you have Ben Grimm, who turns into the Thing. Yeah. And then we find out Victor is actually alive. And Victor wants revenge on them, and then of course there's the clash.
He's Dr. Doom.
He's Dr. Doom.
Yeah,
and he's not insane as well.
The whole like Mole Man subplot is the only thing that I feel like he really kind of.
The Jeweler, yeah.
You could have done without this.
Yeah, because it kind of hokies it up, because there's the scene when it introduces a level of hokiness, because there's the scene when he goes to steal the diamond, and it's kind of played for laughs, where he's like stepping over the security system lights.
Yeah,
but
the
then,
laser
then they
grid.
It seems like they speed it up a little bit, so it's like doop, 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 doop. So it's like, it's kind of like, I don't know if we're supposed to laugh. I don't know how that's supposed to play. I thought his special effects,
and he's like in love with the blind girl, and he kidnapped
her
because
he wants her to be his queen, his underground queen. So
it's a subplot that is.
Could have been left on the table.
It's kind of like the weak link, in my personal opinion, of the movie.
Yeah,
but otherwise, I'm with you. Like I enjoyed this movie.
And they did what they did with what they could, what they had. They did it well. I mean, they really, I think they blew their wad on the Thing's costume, which I think is really good for the time. It's cool. Animatronic, the face, so they were able to control it all by remote control to get different expressions. It's very much like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything that Jim Henson was doing at the time.
They could have made it a little bit leaner. He's the body, like the.
He's big. He's barrel chested.
Yeah, like the torso is a little round. They could have made it a little more heroic looking. But other than that, very cool. The most literal translation of the Thing to live action.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good, and I thought it was a selling point on the movie. I mean, even at the end, you may argue against me here, but even at the end, you could tell for budgetary reasons they were trying to hold back Johnny from turning into
Yeah,
the Human Torch. But at the end, he does turn.
Yeah.
And I thought it was perfectly good.
Yeah.
I mean, for the time, it's very much of Lawnmower Man or whatever CGI you had of the time. And maybe if they were going to release it, maybe they would have went back and touched it up a little more, because it is very simplistic with like just it's a humanoid figure, But I thought it completely suited the purpose of the story, and we got him to turn, which was cool. I mean, even the effects of like the practical effects of Mr. Fantastic is that his name, Mr. Fantastic? Reed Richards. I mean, the shit he's doing with his arm. I mean, that's really cool. Some of that stuff and how they edited it.
It's not so bad. Yeah,
no,
it's
I mean, it's hokey, but
decent.
it's he's knocking people out and stuff.
I mean, despite the fact that we like this movie, sure, there's a lot of like kitschy and hokiness. There's a lot of like Sue Storm standing there and two guys about to shoot her, and she turns invisible and clearly, like, I guess ducks, whatever. They shoot each other or they run into each other. There's a lot of like kind of hokey moments, but there's also like a lot of like. There's a lot of moments that are genuinely funny, that are supposed to be funny. Like, there's the scene when they, I think it's when they originally get captured by Doctor Doom, and he's like, I'm going to, and he leaves for some reason. He lets all the guys.
I don't need to watch.
Yeah, he's going to let them kill. He's going to let all his men who are kind of dressed like him.
His Doombots.
Yeah, like kill them. He like leaves. Then there's this big fight. They end up escaping through a hole. Like thing punches a hole in the wall. They leave, and then he comes back in like, oh, and another thing. And he looks and like no, and everybody's dead, and it's empty, and there's a hole in the wall. And goes, huh?
It just goes away. It's like, I thought he did a good job.
His reaction of just like, huh?
Joseph Colpin, I thought it was a great job, and he says it was really hard. He says if they ever re-release this movie, he would do the ADR for free, because I guess they ADR'd some of his stuff, but it was so hindering the mask that a lot of it's garbled, and he was trying to be very physical. So at some points, I was thinking that he was almost throwing like gang signs. He's like throwing his hands down, and like it's almost like a Beastie Boys rap video where he's like at the camera, and it's very much like a David Prowse kind of a thing where it's like he's trying to overact to try to have the physicality.
Well, that's the thing is like. The Doom mask doesn't have any emotion, No,
it doesn't even move. It's not like at least with the Thing you can make different expressions. It's just it's like it's very reminiscent of like Destro's origin story from G.I. Joe of him like
Man of the Iron Mask.
Yes,
type
you're cursed and you have to put this all your relatives to put this down.
I thought he was great. I thought Alex Hyde White was they brought it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It was like really cool.
Like despite like the budget and the clear limitations, like these are guys that are serious about their craft, and they brought it. I mean, they were good.
I also want to bring up the two guys who did the soundtrack for this movie, Eric Wurst, and I got to find David's last name.
I think they're both Wurst.
Are they both Wurst?
Yeah.
They coughed up $6,000 of their own cash to get an orchestra. So they had a 28-piece orchestra, and they recorded it in the Capitol building in the sound stages that Sinatra used to record in. And I think that really pays off, because at the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is a really good soundtrack. Yeah. I mean, aside from there's a couple
it's very reminiscent to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's very like a Horner, James Horner, or even like a John Williams.
There's like this piano theme that is like I'm like, is this the temp score? Like, is this just Jurassic Park's temp score? But it's not. It's very, and Jurassic Park had just come out.
Yeah.
So, but like the opening, like the title, and then it's like this big sweeping orchestral score over like like space shots and planetary.
It's a ballsy score, especially with the strings. It's like really gets you in there. And I thought it worked great. I mean, there's some cues here or there that are kind of cheesy that go with like that jeweler guy or something like that. Yeah. But aside from that, the overall theme I think is great. Also, Optical Nerve, who did the special effects, I really loved. Like we've been praising the effects in this movie, the practical effects, the special effects and makeup stuff. They went on to do. I guess at the time they had already done the Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead, which I'm a huge fan of. So that's pretty cool. So overall, I thought it was very good for what they had, And I really think, sadly, all these actors were really putting their all into it. They were really thinking this was going to be like, they had maybe dreams that this could be as big as Batman or as big as, because at the time, like we said, that how you have like Dick Tracy, the Rocketeer, you have the Crow, you have Batman, you have, you know what I mean? You have Batman Returns, you've got a couple Superman movies, you have all the stuff on television. So superhero movies were in our psyche, and people were digesting them, not to the level that they are now.
Yeah.
But
it was the first.
And the comic books were huge because it was before
definitely
the floors dropped out of comic books.
Yeah, it was definitely like the preamble of what's going on now. There was like the first push.
Yeah.
The first surge.
So these guys are going into it like, this is going to be really, this is really going to put me over the top, and it's like.
Ultimately, plot-wise, it's like, there's something going on where Doom wants to take their powers, harness the powers that they got from Colossus.
Yeah, and then make him into, and then turn him into his own.
And then he has this beam that's going to destroy New York City.
And he's using the diamond that was stolen by the jeweler, so he needs it back. And
there's a little bit of a love story between the blind Alicia, the blind girl, and Ben Grimm.
Yeah. Which again is
I love the footage
origin material from the
where
comic.
They're trying to figure out what happened, and then Reed Richards comes up with like, okay, well, like, you're shy, so you become invisible, and Johnny, you got a hot temper, so you turn into fire, and I'm stretching myself too thin all the time, so I'm stretchy, and so they have like this big like scene, and Ben Grimm's the things like, yeah, but you guys can live like you guys cannot use your powers and nobody would know. Like, look at me. And he just decides he's going to leave. And then I love like this, like the shaky, like handheld footage of like him walking or like in the city. Yeah. And this giant,
and everyone's like, you're looking at him, and he ends up running and hiding in a back alley, and then of course he's just like him. They clearly just like grabbed footage of this guy in a big costume walking around the city, and people are like looking at him, and then there's like he goes up to some women in the street, and they're like, they're like freaked out. Well, they definitely I think the director even says he kind of had the idea of like a Joseph Merrick, like the Elephant Man, when doing it and emphasizing that, and it goes back to characters.
Sure,
they're trying to, and I like at the end how he's like so despondent, he goes and hides like with a trench coat in like a back alley, and of course like some prep cook comes out or some like dishwasher like, get the hell out of here.
And he's that guy's familiar. I can't think of
I thought he looked familiar too.
He's like, no, you gotta get out of here, and he whips off the
he's like, dude, I'm just sitting by your trash, who cares? Oh, you gotta get out of here. Yeah, I'm gonna get fired.
He rips off the blanket, and it's revealing that he's the thing, and the guy freaks out and runs away,
like, pisses himself. So I think they give it their all. I mean, everybody in here, Corman, helping to do stuff. They shot a lot of this, or probably the majority of it, all on Corman's studio lot in Venice, California, and they used different sets around L.A. And I guess they must have shot one or two things here in the city. I don't know. Maybe.
And there's definitely like establishing shots of the city that they either bought or you came here just to shoot like the city from like Jersey.
The sun coming up in the morning. It's just a shame that this got such a raw deal. Not to bring up Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's like you would think they would have done something with it. It wouldn't have been such a bad, laughable.
Yeah, it is weird. It'll be interesting to see when this documentary about it comes out, and like this, like I said, this resurgence of documentaries getting made of like movies that never were. And here we have a movie that was, and just never came out. It'd be interesting to see if something happens, and then this movie ends up finally finding its way to like DVD or Blu-ray or something. I mean, that would be totally exciting with like special features.
I mean, this is really up there with I heard for bootlegs, aside from in the old days trying to get the Star Wars holiday special. This was like the second most like sought after bootleg, and this is up in there with like the Brave, that Johnny Depp movie that never came out, that he did with Marlon Brando, or the notorious Jerry Lewis movie, The Clown That Cried. Or there's another one like maybe the Dust in the Wind, it was an Orson Welles movie that never got finished. So it's like these, you think of these huge projects, that never get made or get made and get shelved, or like you think of which we were talking about documentaries earlier. There's that great documentary of Lost in La Mancha about Terry Gilliam trying to do a Man of La Mancha with Johnny Depp in the 90s, and that falling apart. So it's like you have all these stories. I think there's probably even books on it, like the best movies that never got made or whatever.
Sure,
You know, so I mean, it doesn't even matter who you are. You could be someone as big as a Orson Welles or a Marlon Brando or Johnny Depp or whatever, Jerry Lewis, and for whatever reason, your movie either never gets finished. You can't get the funding. It's so horrible you have to shelve it for Jerry Lewis's sake. Or with this movie where you have everybody who's really they're on their A game. I mean, they're realizing the limitations of what they have, and they're saying, "Fuck it, we can make it better." And I think you and I agree that they do make it better. And then just some one guy in that smoky boardroom says, "We're shelving it. We're going to buy it from you. We're going to shelve it and have it not see the light of day." When you could have easily turned it into like a shitty afternoon TV show, you know, that could have at the same time could have rivaled the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, you
or
think
something
this
like
is
that.
like the time of the Power Rangers.
You know, so like, you know, you have Ninja Turtles, you know, at this time, I think, you know, Secret of the Ooze had come out, so you're probably on the third Ninja Turtles movie where they go back in time. You know, you have a Ninja Turtles cartoon show, you have Power Rangers on television, you have Batman the Animated Series, you had The Flash for a year. So why not give us a Fantastic Four like on a Saturday morning? Especially if you're, with this, you can just turn it around, the marketing, and say, hey, we're gearing it to kids. That's the reason why it's hokey, because we're, you know, remember Captain Power? You know, it's like, you know, it's like you do something like that, you know, where it's.
I mean, I think that's an awesome perspective that I didn't even really think about. I mean, you think about this is around the time that like Power Rangers comes out, and this is like when Power Rangers were just. Like live action, like footage that they shot, edited with like Japanese footage.
Yeah, and I don't really ever understand the whole how that goes. It's like the Power Rangers or whatever they were huge in Japan or wherever they were out east, and some company got the bright idea of just either buying or releasing that footage coming over here, reshooting the on-set stuff with American actors, and that's it, and then just.
That's how it. I believe that's how it originally was.
And they just
at least
married
the first couple of seasons.
Yeah,
and then they started just, filming everything themselves. That was something that was like when we went to that convention a couple of months ago. Whenever that was.
Oh, that was huge.
That was the thing that was like shocking to me.
So weird now. We're at the age we're in our mid to late 30s. Power Rangers is over 20 years old, so on television.
And Power Rangers it came out when we were, we
just
were
leaving that scene, I think.
Yeah, like we were just a year or two older. I didn't have cable, so like after school, what I had to watch was like really limited.
Like I think,
and so like I watched it sometimes, but it really was geared towards an audience that was younger than us at the time.
Yeah, like the Saved by the Bell. Like I think like when we were young enough, we were watching Ninja Turtles. So if we had it been a couple years later and we were
talking about the original cartoon show.
Yeah, and with Power Rangers. But to think now, fast forward to today, 23, 24 years later, so there's a whole fan base that has now grown up. And you were always talking about how crazy time is. We just did that a couple casts ago. And it's like you think about, so you and I go to this great horror convention at the New York Hotel.
It was a comic
I'm sorry,
convention.
a comic book convention, which is the one we went to last year that we did the sidecast on.
Yeah.
About
it's like the comic book marketplace or something here once a year here in New York City.
Yeah, we attended it this year, and we did a great cast on Podbits.com last year at Hero Boy. With you, we're talking about comic art or just cartoon art that you can buy, And but I digress. But we go to this convention a couple months ago here in the city at not the New York hotel, the Pennsylvania hotel, and there's a huge line because 2 of the Power Rangers are going to be there.
It was a big deal for people,
and people are dressed up like in Power Rangers shirts, and I've never seen people like geeking out in such a way where I guess it's kind of like you're removed from it. So it's like if you're not a Trekkie and you see people dressed up as Trekkies, back then you're like, wow, that's crazy. I thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
But these kids are just like, screw it, I'm a freaking Power Ranger.
I know, and when we were leaving, as we were walking out, there was like people showing the other people like what they got signed. And people giving each other like high fives for the costumes that they were wearing. It was like this whole fan base that I had no idea existed.
But it was logical because they've all grown up now, so they must be. So it's
yeah. It wasn't like what the hell, but it was like, huh?
No, but I mean, that's what I mean. It's logical in a sense where it's
really,
like, oh yeah, I never even thought about it. And it's so weird to think about like as a guilty.
There's been so many incarnations of the show too.
That's where I get
different
lost.
Casts
it's like the Stargate show. Stargate started the TV show Richard Dean Anderson, and then they've gotten like half a dozen Atlantis, blah blah blah. And I've lost count of what the hell is going on there. Yeah. But I wonder if a guilty pleasure for these people who are fans of the Power Rangers, like like people Star Trek, you just go home and rewatch the seasons and stuff like that, or is it something more geared to their childhood where Star Trek you could still say you're an adult and watch it, whereas with us, if we go back and watch something like, I don't know, Ernest P. Worrell or something that's dated, that was live action back then, is it more of a guilty pleasure as opposed to we're still watching it?
I think with Power Rangers, it's a weird thing because there's been so many casts. There is like a Power Rangers for like every generation of kids growing up, starting with the generation just before us.
Yeah. Or just after us.
Because like, a friend of mine's son who's like 8 went through a big Power Rangers phase, like, within the last couple years. And I think my nephew has Power Rangers stuff, so there's been like, like we say, like you say, like every, like what generation, like what Batman was your Batman, when you grew up, and I think that's going on with the Power Rangers.
Seriously.
Like everybody has their cast, and, like I'm not sure that a lot of the Power Rangers that were the Power Rangers when, like Amy Jo Johnson or whatever her name is, whatever the cast was when we, the first incarnation, I don't know if they would get as big of a fan base because the people that were excited about it were a little bit younger than us at the convention.
Yeah,
it wasn't like people that was our age. It was
the
like
kids in their 20s.
Yeah, kids in their 20s,
late 20s
that were psyched for it.
Those little rascals.
And you have no idea, like this, like you said, had they transitioned this Fantastic Four movie into being like a pilot movie, and like Fox airing it like on Sunday night, and then having it be like an after school, like
a Power Rangers-esque show.
Yeah,
it could have been. They could have
like, these people could have been, like, oh, I got Seuss.
Yeah, Jay Underwood.
Because they really were. They were the first live-action Fantastic Four.
I think what really just impressed me about this was just that it's one thing if you make a really shitty low-budget movie that's sourced off original material, but not only that, they try to do the best they could. I mean, even to the point where like Joseph Culp talks about, like, he knows the backstory of Doctor Doom, so there's a lot of nods to the character, like kissing his necklace because it's his mother's amulet, or he wants to get his thing back, or they base the guys at Optic Nerve who did the Thing's design. They based it off the John Byrne, the artist who drew him on a legendary run of Fantastic Four. He was a writer-artist, so it's like you could see that they're usually they're well versed. They went and did their homework, and then to the point, like we were saying, was you have the actors after the thing is wrapped, they're actually going to children's hospitals to promote it. They're going to comic book conventions. It's slated again to open at like the Mall of Americas on such and such date, Labor Day weekend. So I don't know why.
And like the proceeds to that were going to go to charities.
Yeah, complete charities. That were already slated out. That were like Ronald McDonald. They were already slated to make appearances. So I don't know why. It's one thing if they had wrapped production, like say we were talking about Marty. Yeah. And then that was it, okay. And then they realized, oh, what we have is gold. Let's finish it. They did all post on it, and it was only like maybe what's his face, Avi was too busy at Marvel and realized he got like a sticky note, like, oh, you have to show up for the premiere of, and he's like, what? Oh shit, I completely forgot about that movie. 8 months later, they did all the posts. I didn't want them to do that, because they could have just shot it all. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. That's all we want. We're not going to do anything else. But they did post on it. They made it look the best it could. They were doing marketing for it.
But it is a good question to be like,
why?
Yeah, but to be like, okay, like that. For some reason, they thought that was going to kill. And let's face it, and I don't want to offend any Fantastic Four fans out there, but let's face it, it's not a property that in like 1994 or even today is like this hot, like, I don't think people like were clamoring for like a Fantastic Four movie.
Certainly the fans were, but
So my point is just like, it's funny like that, like they don't want that released, but that Captain America movie's okay.
Or even the Punisher. I mean, to a lesser extent, I would even venture to say I'm going to put on my Swami hat and try to do like some predict the future here. I don't even think that the new Fantastic Four movie that's coming out is going to do very good at all. I haven't seen anything about it. I've seen a couple posters.
I think it'll do well, like on its initial release and for like a couple of weeks. Will it stand like the test of time? Who knows? I mean, but
I don't think it'll do like Avengers or like the Guardian of the Galaxy money.
Even more than, the last Fantastic Fours. I think they're really trying to like make it an updated, like more taking it more of like making it more of like a serious
Yeah, it looks a little darker,
movie
and
for today, and it's about like transdimensional like traveling as opposed to like a comet. They're trying to really update it, and I give them credit for it. I mean, for me, like I remember when I heard like the 2005 Fantastic Four movie was coming out, and I was like, why? Yeah. But that's me. I was never a huge Fantastic Four reader, so in my perspective, it was. But I felt the same thing about like Iron Man. I mean, these properties, people forget. Like before the Iron Man movie, the Hulk was popular only because of the TV show. In terms of not only, but that was
outside of the world of comic book, the people.
But there was like Hulk, basically all the Avenger movies. These were not like huge characters. I mean, and they had their day.
No, because they'd already gone and shot off their wad by doing a Spider-Man movie. They did an X-Men movie. They did a Daredevil movie.
But the X-Men, but X-Men and Spider-Man, those were huge Marvel properties.
But since they've already cleared them off,
I know.
They already got.
And those were made by a different company than Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel was left because Stan sold off all the rights, trying to save Marvel to Fantastic Four, X-Men,
Punisher,
Ghost
Rider.
He gave away like not gave them away, but he sold all the rights to it. So Marvel
to keep Marvel afloat.
Marvel was left with what they could do. It was like 90% of America never even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Before the movie was announced.
Yeah.
So it was like Marvel Studios, owned by Disney, doing a hell of a job with basically scraps.
Yeah.
And making like those, like the real powerhouse comic book movies of today. So
fair play to them.
Yeah, totally. I'm not dissing them at all. No. But my point is like, a lot of these movies were coming out strictly because like Blade did okay, and then X-Men did awesome.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man killed. So then it was like, let's start
everything.
Everything we got,
Yeah, that's where you get Electro, Daredevil, all that kind of stuff.
And now Ant-Man just came out. I mean, they're taking properties that, weren't in their heyday, weren't selling copies like Spider-Man was. Or Batman and Superman.
Yeah. So I guess we're just both kind of disappointed that the fate that was bestowed on this 1994, really the original Fantastic Four movie, And like I said, a lot of fans who I've talked to cite it as being, more faithful to it than the others. Be it like the character development as well as the,
Well, yeah, I think the
storyline arcs.
I think the bottom line is like it's a shame because
they could have did something with it.
Is it great? I mean, is it like an amazing comic book movie? I don't think anybody would argue that. Is it totally entertaining? Sure. Yeah. Like it's entertaining.
You know what it is?
Is it bad? Is it exceptionally bad for 1994? Not really.
No.
It's not.
That's why for me, I instantly thought of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that original movie, because it's kind of the same. It's shot almost on the same stock of film. It looks like they're using some of the same locations to a certain extent. You're in that kind of New York City that's very reminiscent of The Crow. It's not New York City.
That's what I loved about that Warzone Punisher movie.
Oh, exactly. Same thing.
Was like
the third
the New York in that was like the New York in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Like it was like, so that movie for me was also very nostalgic.
Oh.
Because it felt very, like that New York felt like
the
New York in my head when I was growing up, because those are the movies I grew up with, seeing like what New York was like.
Yeah.
Which was like,
Vancouver
or something.
Yeah, K cars and stuff. Police cars, like Gotham. So it's like, it's so... You look at that's why I know Turtles did so much better, because it had a lot going for it. But to me, they're just like, it's the same
here's
kind
the
of thing.
Turtles was a huge property at that time.
Yeah,
Fantastic Four wasn't.
Yeah, and it's funny to think that, because Marvel and comic books were huge, and to see where Marvel is now as opposed to DC, it's really surprising that they had all those years struggling until, I don't know, maybe the mid 2000s. 10 years ago is really when they got their act together. Somewhat to say, I mean, with the X-Men coming out in Blade, they kind of got their footing, and then they had a.
But again, that wasn't Marvel; those were other companies.
Yeah, we have Marvel properties, but then they had a couple clunkers. The Punisher movies, Elektra. I don't know how Daredevil. I don't know if that fared very well.
Oddly enough, I did a double feature before I came over to watch Fantastic Four. I watched the director's cut of that Daredevil movie.
Oh wow, okay.
I was like, I'm watching this Fantastic Four with Dion tonight. Leading up to it, I'm going to get in the
do some Daredevil.
you know, I did you when I told you that I got it, you were like, you love that movie, and I was like, I don't love that movie. It was that everybody says how bad it is, and like my point is, I love comic book movies, so I'm like, I even like the Daredevil movie. Watched it this time around, not great. No. I mean, it's fine. See, with me, I don't think it's any better than the Fantastic Four movie.
That's funny. That's saying a lot. I mean, with me, I even like the Ghost Rider, and I hate Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I like the Ghost Rider movie,
but I mean,
okay.
I thought the Ghost Rider one was good.
But I didn't read Ghost Rider, you know.
Yeah. Only did I. I thought it was very atmospheric. I liked Peter Fonda, who was again. There's a guy we forgot. Who was another graduate of the Corman School. I liked him playing the devil in it. I liked all that stuff. So, anyway. A couple notes to leave on. I loved how the when Victor Von Doom was supposedly declared dead when they pronounced his body. It's the on-call ER doctor who becomes his right-hand man. So like the guy, he's the dude with the beard. I'm sorry, he's dead. And then they take him downstairs.
Well, I think he's posing as a doctor.
Oh, okay. Really I thought he was really the doctor. He's like, so why the hell in the first place? Where's the conspiracy?
There's something going on with.
I lost that because they take his body and then
there's no real.
It's like he gave up his career as an ER doctor.
There was no real explanation. I think that he's some kind of royalty.
Doom is, yes. Yeah. Doom is royalty. Carveria, or I can't even pronounce the thing. He's
that's
lost
why
his
they
throne.
take him.
And that's also a point of he wants to kind of his mom has been exiled, and he wants to bring back the what do you call that? The esteem, or he wants to honor. He wants to bring the honor back to his family. So that's goes to a lot of the backstory. I think
that's why they kidnapped him.
I see. That makes a lot more sense now. They're from there. And the last thing, which I didn't understand, was the Storm kids who are still living in the boarding house with their mom.
Yeah.
Did we ever establish that they had anything to do with any way competent for them to be able to go on a spaceship?
No, not only that.
Because it's just like, we're going up in a spaceship. Mrs. Storm, could the two
even
Storms come out to
is
play?
Like, why do they qualified? And Ben Grimm's like, well, nobody knows more about what you're trying to do than they do because they were little. We lived in their house when we did it. But yeah, there's no.
Because I was like, did I miss something? Or did I miss like a snippet of dialogue where they're like, maybe I don't know what they are.
Yeah, like
they're
they
engineers.
went to space camp.
Yeah, they went and met what's her face, Terry Bradshaw, not Terry Bradshaw. What's her name? What's his face's wife? Steven Spielberg's wife.
Oh,
who's in space camp?
yeah.
In Dreamscape.
I can't remember what her name is.
It's Terry something, ain't it? I said Terry Ellen Shaw. Anyway,
anyway,
they went to space camp with her, so it's like that's what I didn't.
Yeah,
get.
There is no real explanation of why they're qualified to be astronauts. There's not even like a training sequence.
Yeah, no,
where they're like, well, we're gonna train them for it. Nope, they just who wants to fly to space tomorrow?
I do. So they kind of wonder, well, shit's gonna go wrong if you have people completely unqualified.
One half of your crew is completely unqualified to be up there.
One you're bringing her because you want to tag her, and the other one you're bringing her brother along just because for whatever reason you like him. It's like he's your biggest fan. So it's just like what does this do? They pull the whole thing up. End of movie. Ridiculous.
Very good point.
Yeah. So I didn't. They all they had to do was just throw a line in there. They're genetic engineers or whatever or something. So,
yeah. For me, like I said, all valid points. For me, all the underground stuff was kind of weird. There was I feel like there was this like fascination with like the underground societies. You're coming off of like Beauty and the Beast, the TV show.
Oh yeah, you had Ninja Turtles were doing that a lot.
Ninja Turtles were underground.
With Sam Rockwell, you had Chud from the '80s.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating topic. I've got a lot of stories about underground dwellers. So
so it was a weird point in the movie that I could have done without. But otherwise, can't be good wholesome fun.
Yeah, what do you want? For $1.5 million. I mean, especially since if you think about the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, they did that on $11 million. They took a trip to Australia to shoot that shit. Wow. So, what did you think out of sleepover colas? Caffeine colas,
mega caffeinated colas. I would give this a 3.5, maybe 3.
I do I do sleepover stars. I would give it about 3.5 too, because it's everyone's putting as much as they can into it.
It's very, like I said, it's very nostalgic. Like there's a very nostalgic feel for it, even though we didn't watch it this wasn't a movie that we grew up with. But when you watch it, it's hard not to reminisce in your mind's eye about
I wonder if
the
this,
kind of stuff that we did watch and love when we were little.
I wonder if this came out between Batman and a Dick Tracy, if they would have, either put it on television or let it get released. Because I know once Dick Tracy does very well, you kind of get. I don't think The Shadow did very well. I think The Rocketeer bombed, sadly, and I can't tell you why to this day.
We're going to do that Rocketeer one of these days.
Yeah, we'll probably do all these we're mentioning: Dick Tracy, The Rocketeer, The Phantom. I don't think did well.
No,
so it's like I could see why you see these movies tanking. They're like, I don't know what to do, but you still have the Batman and Batman Forever. You still have The Crow coming out, so you still have these kind of comic book turtles. These things that are doing well. So. I wonder if it just came out 2 or 3 years before, if they would have really got somewhere with it, or at least
that's a good question. It is a
in the context of a Flash TV show that year 1990. You know what I mean? I mean, you go back and watch Dick Tracy,
and there's parts about that Flash TV show that are on par with what's going on.
Oh yeah, of course.
Set pieces, set designs.
We covered that in the third episode of Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. That we did the Flash pilot from back 1990. So I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great pick, and like you said, a lot of these movies that we've mentioned today, almost all of them, we're probably going to get to at some point. We love The Shadow. I don't know about. I've never seen The Phantom, but
I never saw The Phantom.
But it could be something. We love The Rocketeer.
I know that Bruce Campbell almost got cast as The Phantom, and then that would have been a what if game.
Well, we'll say that for the movie, the what if segment. So and we have another big superhero movie coming out soon to ring in our anniversary.
Yeah, we have our 1 year anniversary is coming up.
Yeah,
and we have something fun planned.
We're cajillionaires now.
We're gonna get our underoos out,
and we're gonna it's gonna be great. We're gonna get our one-piece pajamas with the pant, with the
booties,
with the feet, and then we're gonna get our GI Joe and Transformers one-piece pajamas out, our onesies, and we're gonna have a good time.
And I'm actually I really, especially after watching it this time and talking about it, I'm kind of psyched to watch this documentary about it. See what else what other light they can shine.
I'm psyched to watch that and the one about the Tim Burton Superman one.
Superman one's cool. I definitely recommend that one. But this one looks like it's going to be cool too.
Did we bring a third one up too that you said that you just...
The Richard Stanley one's really interesting.
Yes. Okay.
The one about the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, I knew nothing about
the craziness of Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer.
Yeah, was he the director that kicked off and then came back as a cameo as the Tiger? Like he couldn't deal with him and he left, and then that's where Frankenheimer came on board?
He didn't come back as a cameo, but he did sneak on, spoiler alert, he did sneak on to the set with like a mask and just like to see what was going on and as an extra in the movie. For years I was always under the impression that he's the Tiger at that beginning, that they're trying to, that they initially are trying to control, and he breaks away. And remember that one at the real? Yeah. I thought he was him, but anyway, that's a whole different other. This is the problem. Other than Jodorowsky's Dune, which is like super well made, all these movies are, I think, like for the most part, maybe like crowdfunded like ventures. So
these
these documentaries. So they could be better, but they're awesome, but they, you could tell the people making them are passionate about it. And
heart's in the right place.
And heart's in the right place, and they're definitely doing like the best they can with like the money they were able to raise with it and whatnot.
This was great. Check us out on Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers at SaturdaySleepovers.podwits.com.
That's Saturday Sleepovers.
.podwits.com. We're on Facebook. You can see us there, Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. We're on Twitter. We're at Sat Sleepovers.
We're now on. You can listen to us at Player FM. We're now on Stitcher.
Yeah, check
us out on Stitcher and subscribe to us on iTunes.
Yeah, we're on iTunes too.
And review the show anywhere you
can.
Let us know. On iTunes.
Stitcher, FM radio.
If there's customer reviews, we'd love to hear what you have to say about it, especially if it's positive.
Yeah, that's always a plus if it's positive. If you're enjoying it.
But subscribe to us. Check us out. We have all these other platforms now, so you don't have to listen to us, just on our site or just on iTunes. You can listen to us on Stitcher.
And just so people know, if you don't want to get any of these sites, you can go right to our website, and you can right-click and either you can listen to it there, or you can right-click and download the cast directly from SaturdaySleepovers.podwits.com. So if you don't want to get an iTunes account, or you don't want to go to Stitcher, you don't want to find us on FM radio, and I don't mean FM radio like on the aerial antenna radio. Player FM, yeah.
You don't have to have those to listen to us, but if you have those and you like them, you can find us there.
Yeah, if you have an internet connection, go to SaturdaySleepovers.podwits.com, and you can right-click that bad boy and download everything there.
Write us. We'll throw a bunch of them on the DVD.
Yeah, we'll send them. That's how. You write us in.
You're
throw a
like, I
bunch
don't
of-
have the internet, but I
Yeah.
would love to listen to
We'll
this
throw.
show.
We won't even give you. It won't be a data disc like our parents. We'll just give you a. We'll just give them to you as tracks on a CD or a DVD. So, Blake, where can they find your stuff?
jblakeblues.com
Yes.
for all your blues needs.
Anytime you need anything. And I'm at podwits.com. I'm around town as well. You can find more out about us at our bio page on Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. And I hope you come back in 2 weeks because we've got a lot of fun things planned. We have another near and dear to our hearts coming out in 2 weeks. It's another
Yeah, we got a fun one.
another
coming
summer
up.
movie. Another summer. I don't know how to tease it, but I don't know how to tease it, but it's foreign.
It's
okay.
foreign.
It's got sharks in it.
There's a shark, at least one shark in it.
We've got
There's some breasts.
We've got a lot of
for
breasts,
those people out there that are into that.
and we got a lot of special effects. We've got some people who have died but are still walking around. So, hopefully, there's some people out there like, oh, I know. But
We haven't worked out yet, but we might do some fun stuff for October for Halloween. We'll see.
So that'll be real
kind
fun.
of time we got.
So point being is come back. Please come back.
We'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah, like Motel 6. But not here because Blake's mom's going to get mad.
Yeah.
So.
My mom doesn't what I need.
No, lies. You don't want you coming over here late Saturday night. I'm here to see Blake and Dion. I was told that they're here. But anyway, we'll see you soon, folks. So.
All right.